All right, we'll call this meeting to order on Thursday, May 22nd, 5:30 p.m. for the Latimer Brown House Restoration Ad Hoc Committee. Mr. King, would you mind saying the invocation for us?
Sure. Heavenly Father, thank you for this group of people that are here tonight. Father, may you bless our work, give us wisdom. Father, give us, just may it be said about us that we're not trying to hide anything, but that we are committed to the truth and we're committed to transparency, and so let that be our goal. And Lord, help us to honor Mr. Brown and do the best job that we can. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Before we adopt the agenda, I just wanted to add as new business item E. This is just kind of more of a form letter. We're starting it. Basically, the main reason we're here, we could call it exploration findings. That is the crux of what we're talking about tonight. So, do I have a motion for approval of
So
that?
moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Recognition of the public. We have Mr. Kevin Bagert at 424 A.B. Wade Road, Portland, Tennessee.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate the core group of people who got us to this point now and got the citizens of Sumner County and Mr. Brown's dream to this point. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Commissioner Jones, who behind the scenes was really kind of motivating and pushing, getting the Latimers involved, the McClards involved. Without that initial leadership, I think we would have floundered. Commissioner Klein, for your hard work and understanding the engineering behind this whole thing, and the diligence to investigate. This is a gem, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Commissioner, who else do I want to talk about? Commissioner Mansfield, you know, this whole thing wouldn't have happened unless we had a leadership kind of getting all the cats going in the same direction. And you know, the citizens of Sumner County should be really proud of this moment. This was a hell of an effort to get this point. You know, Mr. Brown gave us a lot of money, including $500,000 for this house, but he gave the schools a tremendous blessing. We need to make sure we take that and move on with it. But the other point is, and I mentioned it the other night at the county meeting, we should be considering this an archaeological treasure trove. We don't know. You look at those things, these kind of bricks don't come along until like the 1900s. But all of that, those beams, that's old school. Who knows, as I mentioned on Monday night, what could be buried in and around that area? We don't have the history. We need to recreate that. And I know, I wish the mayor was here because he seems to have an in with MTSU. You know, there should be some resources in the state of Tennessee, archaeologically speaking, that could come in and maybe do some carbon dating on some of the stuff, just to ascertain exactly what we're dealing with here. You know, this is a real gem. You know, I came from Connecticut. This was normal up in Connecticut. They would never have allowed this to have happened. They would have jumped on this from the get-go. Individuals, in any event. I applaud you all. I look forward to seeing the fruits of your labor, and the citizens and students of Sumner County, I think, are going to benefit for years to come. Thank you very much.
All right, Mrs. Laura Bader at 424 A.B. Wade Road, Portland, Tennessee.
Well,
Imagine that.
he stole my thunder. It's been going on for 35 years, but thanking all of you and congratulating you. I'm not sure which one should come first, but
Don't congratulate us yet.
well, to get to this point has been a tremendous effort, and I agree with all the recognitions that are here. I appreciate everybody who's agreed to be on the committee, and I'm glad now that we can be left to do comments since Mike McClard now is on the committee, and Mr. Latimer can speak without his thunder getting stolen by the other Mr. Latimer. He's on the committee, but yeah, ditto to everything that Kevin said, and just going through the numbers that Mr. Coker, is that right?
Coker, yeah.
Yeah, put put together, you know, I see $120,000. There's probably I see some things in there that he didn't include in his list. But for the naysayers who said this couldn't be done for the $500,000 that was left, when you do the diligence and go finding someone who's passionate about it and cares about it as much as everybody in this room has cared about it since day one, and the fact that this wasn't even mentioned before, you know, we heard about the money going to the schools, but that this gem got left without anybody talking about it until this group started bringing it up. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, concludes recognition of item 5, election of officers for chairman and vice chairman.
I'd like to nominate Jeremy Mansfield for chairman.
Second.
All right, any other nominations? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nomination for vice chairman?
I'd like to nominate David Klein.
Second.
Any other nominations? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Old business, none. New business. A, introduction of new members. How about we just go around the table and just introduce ourselves briefly? Start with
Stephen King. I'm on the school board, District 5. That area is, actually, this is in my district. It's a really large area that I represent, from Millersville, literally the edge of the county in Millersville, all the way to Upper Station Camp, all up through there. And the Liberty Creek campus is my area. It's part of my geographical district, and so I'm excited to be on this committee and to contribute. So thanks.
Mike McClard. My wife Cindy and I live next door to the elementary school, and we've been residents of Sumner County for over 40 years. Where we're living now, we've been there 36, I think. No, 34. I see my wife shaking her head, so I think it's 34. But anyway, I look forward to hoping that we can, get this moving quickly and get it done as quickly as we can.
I'm Chrissy Miller. I am the County Commissioner for District 24, which is just right down the road from the Brown House. But I am a 6th-generation native of Shackle Island and Sumner County. And my family that came in years and that many generations ago was good friends with the Latimer family.
Jim Latimer. Grew up in the area, went to school at Beach School, lived here all my life. We with the Latimers, some of the Latimers that stuck around, once they got here from Connecticut, they sort of spread out and went west and all over the country. But we roamed those woods when I was a boy. Mr. Brown would probably have caught us over there. He might have kicked us out because we were on the back of his place and everything. So we were up and down the hills and hollows. Used to remember visiting Christy's great-grandfather. My father and he were friends, in his stone house that he had down on New Hope Road. Telling me, boy, there's wildcats back on this hill up here. So this house is a hidden treasure that not a lot of people realize were there. We're proud of the heritage of the house and the members of the people that came here and built the house and helped settle the area. So we look forward to trying to get this house preserved as a monument for Sumner County and the history of Sumner County.
David Klein, District 6 Commissioner. I moved here at the end of 1998, about my wife and 4 kids. And I have a passionate love for old things, old houses, architecture in general, and I'm just thrilled to be on the ground floor of this thing.
Tim Jones, County Commissioner, District 23. I've lived in Sumner County for 50 years. My parents and my son and his family and my brother and his family all live in Cottontown. And when I first learned about this because of a park that we had no idea was being constructed, we started digging into it, found out that there was a house, and I just have a passion for doing things the right way. I don't like it when things are done in darkness, or I just want things done
which is Jeremy Mansfield. I was born and raised in Hendersonville, Tennessee, so grew up swimming over the Rock Castle from the Saunders Ferry, Walton Ferry Peninsula. We'd swim over to the castle. As far as that was my historical upbringing as a child, just walking around an old house. I was a graphic design major at UT Knoxville, and basically almost an art history minor, so I have a lot of study with antiquities and a lot of old world stuff. Been to Europe a couple times, seen a lot of stuff that's way older than in this house or anything in Sumner County or in America. But just glad to be able to just do the right thing for the right reasons, for the right people at the right time. So I'm glad we're all here. So thank you guys. All right. Purpose and scope of this. This again, B, C, and D, without objection, cover all these at the same time. Obviously, the purpose and scope of this ad hoc is born out of general operations. I think it was a good idea to get citizens involved, school board member involved, and get it out of general operations meetings, so we're not like having 2 and 3 hour meetings for that meeting every night, since we have other county business, and this is a good way just to be focused, and so we can spend as much time as we want to and call meetings when necessary for this, and as flexibility as things happen over the next year. Obviously our goal is this tonight. I hate Mr. Coker was not able to come tonight. We would schedule this meeting around him to be able to be here. He had a family event with his son that came up, a sporting event that changed, that he's with his family tonight. But he did send an email that Commissioner Klein had outlined, kind of spoken with him about today, kind of Commissioner Klein giving an executive overview, which is kind of what Mrs. Kemp printed out for us. Then David's going to walk us through. I have the photos he sent to us, both exterior and interior, that I'm going to show as David talks, and we can talk through things. The goal is this, we're not going to be formal stuff. We'll suspend the rules when we get down to E, so we can just participate. But the goal is, like, what are the options that we can take from this table to push up to Gen Ops, to then push the budget, to then push the full commission. But what is the vision that we see as community members that we're starting here, that as family members, stakeholders, and we can get input on, like, what's the best way to preserve this house, and what are the options to do that? Is it one option, or is it 3 options? I don't know. We'll find out, hopefully know more tonight, and what are the costs associated with it, most importantly, and the obstacles. It's obviously been like pulling teeth just to get $2,500 approved to do these types of things at the full commission. So I hope the full commission is not as obstinate, and will do the right thing based on what's right, not just what's politically combative for the sake of being combative. So, but that is kind of the goals and the project scope of this as we move along, to really dive into plans and to do the groundwork for Gen Ops. Obviously, 4 of us are on Gen Ops, but to really do the groundwork here, so when we go to Gen Ops, it's a lot shorter process. We're not spending an hour each Gen Ops meeting talking about this issue, which we've been doing, which is great. It's been needed, but it's been for exposure, just to do the right thing. It's so painful. Procedure and rules for the committee. Obviously, my goal is to suspend the rules so we can just kitchen conversation, table chat, so we're not going to be formal and stuffy. If we do take action on an item, I'll bring us back into rules so we can then formally get the parliamentary procedure and take a vote. As far as order and schedule of meetings, I don't know if we want to do a regularly scheduled meeting every month.
I have a question.
On the procedures?
Yeah, procedure rules, just for the people here that aren't county commissioners or school board members. Make sure it's orderly, take turns, and we let the chair acknowledge you, and it's not about hurting feelings, it's about being orderly and speaking when your turn is and things like that. Don't get your feelings hurt if a point of order is called on you. It's just to get the meeting back in line. So just everything's directed to the chair. We don't talk out here.
Unless we suspend the rules.
If we suspend the rules, then that's
It's a free-for-all.
It's for a specific purpose, and that should be stated in why we're suspending the rules. So,
thank you, Tim.
Where was the question?
No.
You said you had a question.
Oh,
Point of order.
I guess I should have made.
Exactly,
I should have
thank
made
you.
a comment. I was gonna ask if you
You're out of
were
order.
gonna address that.
You said there
but I
was a
just went ahead and did it.
wildcat in them hills?
That's right.
There really were, and there still are.
There's cougars out there. Her name's
Yeah.
Chrissy.
So as far as regular scheduled meetings, I don't know what days of the week work best for you guys. I mean, does like a Thursday evening work, Wednesday? Obviously, every Monday we're busy. Tuesdays, we have planning commission a lot of times, so it's Mondays and Tuesdays are out, but Wednesdays and Thursdays are flexes. So is there a night that's, or Wednesdays and Thursdays flexible
Yes.
on a weekly or monthly basis?
Thursdays are good.
Is Thursday the best night? You think? Okay.
Are you making it tentative monthly meetings on a certain day? Is that what you're asking?
I'm not sure if we need to. Yes, but we could go ahead and set it tentatively, just for the next 12 months if we wanted to.
The reason why I asked is because I was hoping that this committee could be flexible with regard to whenever we need to do something rather than wait a month. We do an ad hoc meeting to present something to the general operations or to the budget to be able to expedite the process. So
No,
hopefully everybody's
totally
open to
that,
that.
but
For the tentative, you know.
we can do maybe the third Thursday. The commission meets the third Monday and third Thursday. It's easy enough, but that's going to be
And
before.
this would change it up.
It's going to be after the full commission meeting, and it's going to be before Gen Ops and budget every month. So it would give you the third or fourth, but keeping it flexible. But you guys want to go ahead and just go ahead and set a tentative date of every third Thursday, get on the calendar,
Yeah.
and then we can put out a notice that we've rescheduled it should we need to. All right.
I just.
Motion for that.
A motion for every third Thursday.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So we get
Mr.
that.
Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
I did want to let you know that I just got a text from Chris Coker. He said next Thursday is clear, because you had talked about possibly.
Yes.
Tonight was the last game. It was the Super Bowl, and
Okay, yeah.
his grandson Luke's team. I think it's his grandson.
So, yeah, so if, after we get done tonight, if you guys feel we want to meet next week and have Mr. Coker come back to because Gen Ops will be meeting on Monday, June 2nd, I guess, is that June 2nd or 3rd? A week and a half from now. So anything that we can do to expedite this process, because time is running short.
Yeah, I'd like to see us go as fast
So
as we can.
if, are you guys flexible for next Thursday if we wanted to do another special call meeting, like an ad hoc?
I may be out,
Okay,
but if you all.
that's okay. But,
I very possibly may not be able to be here too.
Jim, are you available? Mike, you available? Tim and David, are you available? So we'd have at least 5, so we could only need 4 for quorum, so we'd be around. But I mean, I want as many people here as possible to watch the video. But it'd be a follow-up to tonight from what David shares, explains, and sees how far we get, whether it's satisfactory or not. All right, any other questions on that? We're just good stuff. All right, we've set every third Thursday. All right, item E, exploration for findings. I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend.
Second, by Commissioner Jones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the floor is open. We suspend the rules. So, David, how do you want to, I know you have this, I've got the photos, so I'm going to just kind of hand it over to you right now.
Right, I think what I'll do is
You guys want to, do you want to take questions?
yeah, let's take questions
while
as we go.
you're going, interrupt you, so you want to just get through it all and we come back?
No, let's,
I'm going to. You direct me on what we're talking
Okay.
about and I can find the thing.
well, what I did with this, recompiling Chris's notes, is I put them in an order that made sense to me, which was House Section A, first and second floor, and B and C, which I put together because we discovered prior to my designating B and C that those were actually one addition. So,
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yes.
Also on your table, guys, is the map, a sketch that Chris Coker provided. So reference, as David's talking, if you guys can reference this.
yeah, you can see the living room is A, that's the original log house. What I thought was maybe an addition right after, but it was a dining room, which is B, and then the kitchen was C, but it ends up that the floor structure and the roof structure are continuous there, so B and C are actually one addition that he believes came in 1830 to 1840, is what he said in his notes. And then the laundry area, D, came much after. It's got modern construction materials. And we're not sure yet, but it may have been kind of a side garden area. And this is just on the side that This wall right here in the dining room has a double door opening out that we found when we pulled the wall away.
So it would have been an exterior.
Would have been an exterior double door, and it's interesting because it's very short. It's like, you know, regular door sizes today are 6'8". This might be 6'2" or 6'4".
So leads into the laundry room.
Yeah, and I think the laundry room wasn't there. It might have been a garden area or something.
Assumed that laundry room for that.
Yeah.
So that's right here.
Yes, yes. And as we discover things, I will upgrade the as-bills to move on. I ran out of time today, or I would have taken Chris's drawings and got a little further. So in his report, the first area was observations, and house section A, which is the log cabin area. He says, logs, all log units look good inside and out at both first and second floor levels. Some rot is present, but he said it's not substantial. The northern side, which is the side that faces the hill, away from the street, shows more deterioration. That makes sense because that's the oncoming wind usually comes from that direction. But it's definitely salvageable. Okay, so first floor, this floor is newer than the walls and the roof. The foundation.
You want me to go to the
Yeah.
photos of the interior?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You want to go to the walls like that?
Yeah, but that's the B and C. So
Tell me where you-
keep going down, keep going, keep going. Okay, let's see, keep going.
This is it. These are all the photos.
No,
you
that
sent.
is that all the pictures you?
That's all I got. That's all I sent.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I got more.
Oh, he didn't send me more. That's all he emailed me.
Well, I've labeled them all.
Well, here, we can use your computer and I can hook it up here.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Or
you just did?
computer.
Yeah.
Here, you can just do this. Put that on Davis. You didn't send me all the photos.
Oh, you know what? He doesn't have any photos of that. I'm sorry, Jeremy.
All right, well, here, you want to hook it back up to mine?
Okay.
I'm ready to go.
Okay, so the floor structure, what it appears to us, and we got into this a little bit last time.
Am I on? Okay.
That's the second floor of the log cabin there, but it's fine. The first floor, it appears that the log cabin was lifted.
This one?
What,
Where do you want me to go?
there's really nothing.
There's a
that-
wall, and these are the only two that show the interior walls.
Yeah. There's nothing that addresses it, so.
Okay.
So, you know, that's log cabins. We'll just leave it there for point right now. So the foundation is concrete, but he believes now, after looking at it the second day he went out there, that concrete foundation was meant primarily for the brick veneer. So it does have some of the floor resting on it in the front and to some degree the sides, but the entire floor of the log cabin area has been rebuilt using more modern materials. It's got some sort of a 2x8, but it's narrower than 1.5 inches. It's more like 1.25 inches. And
What, this floor?
yeah, it's underneath that floor.
You're talking about the four joists?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's cut out, because you talking about these boards right here, it's cut out of the floor.
yeah.
That's
Well,
cut out of the floor.
what I'm going to do is draw something over him. What he's done here. So what happened in that floor is there was a triple 2x8 beam that runs side to side, everybody. And then they've got these funky 2x8s that run, they're sitting on top of the concrete foundation there, which is under the logs, and then they're running on top of this this triple beam that was built in place. And that beam has 3 piers that are made out of concrete block that's not new. I've never seen 8x16 blocks that had 3 cells instead of 2, but these ones have 3 cells. So it's quite old. And so that floor structure is totally new. It's got 3/4 inch underlayment, which is your standard thickness now. And when we get into B and C, I'll show you how that's different. But it's 1x8s that run side to side again, like, you know, and that would have been opposite of what was there. Because what would have been there is log beams running this way, and then the 1x floor would have run side to side and would have been just left that way. So, but the rest of the structure is, you know, is mostly original.
Other than that longer.
In that log area. So then on top of the 1x's, the wide plank 1x's that are running side to side, there is,
About the flooring?
there's, go back to that floor now. That one right there.
This one?
Hardwood.
That's what is running throughout the house right now.
Right.
And this was in the living room, or the log cabin area. There was carpet over this. There's linoleum in the kitchen area, and one section where they had what appears to be a Franklin stove to a fireplace. They had actual concrete blocks on top of it. And so we removed one of those to see that wood runs underneath it. So that's running throughout, and that's important to know because we're going to have a decision to make at some point regarding that, if we want the old wide plank look or if we want to leave this.
Wide plank.
So the walls over the logs and behind the brick veneer had 2 sidings on it. And so I'm on section.
Exterior or interior? What-
Exterior.
All right. You talking about, where you want to look at this one?
Yeah, either one of those is fine. So you see the vertical pieces of wood? That was furring material, and what they did is there was originally a lap siding, like an 8-inch lap siding, and you can kind of see it on the left. Tim, you can probably. So that's the siding, okay? And then further to the left, there's this white kind of board, and below, that's kind of a cementitious siding that was.
Is asbestos shingles?
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be. We didn't.
Probably, I think, because Chris did mention that
Yeah, because I
asbestos
used
last
to use
meeting.
it.
So that's what was over it, and that was the last exterior surface before the brick came in the late 50s or early 60s. So that was continuous all the way around the house. So that tells you that all came after the addition of the kitchen and the dining room. So now, Jeremy, find the opening that looks into the dining room.
An exterior opening? or
Interior.
Inside,
Okay.
the archway going from the
Yeah.
living room into the.
Right there. Okay, you can see it's trimmed with 1x8s, looks like. What they did is they removed, the vertical 1x6.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that opening is about 12 feet wide. They removed logs to do that. And when you're standing inside the house, it's a little hard to tell here, or upstairs, you can see that the entire floor drops about 4 inches.
Yeah, you can see it.
That's gonna have to be dealt with, and we can deal with it with posts, probably be a whole lot easier than trying to find logs that match.
Are you saying that there's,
These logs
I'm just
go
noticing that
all the
over-
way across.
right, but on the top, it's like, these over here are higher than over here.
Yes.
I didn't know if that was
This whole
just a
beam-
picture doing that, or if
No,
that's the
that
actual.
log
This
is,
whole log has
So there's no
sagged.
header.
There's no header. That is the header.
Yeah, the log was the.
And it wasn't enough because there's logs above it, because there's a second floor above it, and roof structure bearing on it. So that's a structural issue. One of the problems, and this is just an aside, is we don't have good founding below the floor there. There's no foundation or anything. So that's gonna be a little tricky, whether we use posts or a wall section or what. We're gonna have to make decisions on what to do with this opening. Obviously, it is a very early opening, and here again, Chris Coker thinks like 1830 to 1840. So it's almost the original house, but that has to be dealt with. Item 3 under walls, the fireplace and vent stack, although showing signs of modification over the years, is in excellent condition. So you can go to the fireplace from the inside, Jeremy. Yeah. The one your arrow's on right now.
Yeah.
Okay, great, I'm sorry. So you can see that there were modifications made. You can kind of see them here.
Wasn't that all covered up? He exposed all that.
Well,
No.
Was that like that?
It was like that.
no, that was all like that.
Okay.
Now,
It's just the carpet being gone.
You can see an opening in here in the flue where we think there was probably another
Wood-burning
Franklin stove
Probably original.
right there. But we're not sure yet how original all of this is. This is contemporary fire brick that's used in calcium aluminate cement that's baked. That wouldn't have existed back then. So, but it's a beautiful fireplace.
David, let me ask you this,
It needs to be
regardless, if you cut, was that cut in, are those logs gone, or is that a
You know,
scab on front of those logs and just cut right where the pit is?
he made the point, and it's an excellent point, that in those days, especially when the kitchen wasn't added on until at least 1830, they would have cooked in there.
Yeah.
And so it would have been a much bigger opening. And so I don't know when we start looking in the flue if we're gonna see hooks for hanging pots, or we don't know.
I mean, this archway right here, I mean, there's something filled in here.
It looks like it's made out of the same bricks.
Or you think that's just a veneer where they're just doing that as a
That's why I was asking, if it was added on front of the face of the blue.
I don't know, and we're gonna have to do, as we get into whatever we decide to do, we will find out a lot more about that fireplace.
You spoke to the fire bricks, how old are they, can you tell by the?
You know,
structure of them?
you see them around, they're kind of a buff color, and they didn't exist back in the 1700s.
1800s?
Or 1800s. I'm not sure when they came in. I could do some research on fire brick.
That might have been all with the remodel that he did and adding the brick on the outside. They might have redone some of the fireplace too.
Yeah.
In the 60s.
They may have, but the stone would have been able to withstand any kind of heat. It would not have, had a problem at all. So he says tuck pointing has taken place in the more recent past as the original mortar is under the newer grout. That's from the outside.
So what's tuck pointing?
Tuck pointing is where a mason comes back and chips out or wire brushes out anything that's soft, because mortar over time will give up, especially when it's exposed to heat.
Chinking or?
Well, it's the mortar
On the fireplace.
between the stones or between brick. And this is common that you have to have a mason come back and he'll take a pointed trowel and he'll knock out any loose mortar and then put in new mortar to protect the structure underneath. So that's what tuck pointing is. Let's see. Moving to the second floor.
I don't think he took, other than the attic photos, I don't think he took any second floor photos.
Yeah, probably.
What's to the bottom there?
This is the floor
What's
underneath.
that?
It was like a chicken.
It looks like some sort of an animal.
It's a possum.
A sheep.
I looked at that, and I meant to ask you.
It looks like a known chicken.
It looks like
an
some
extinct
sort of-
species that we've discovered in the house. Living in the
It
house.
looks like an
It's one of them
owl.
wildcats.
Yeah, it could be.
It's some sort of a bird, I think.
It's a baby penguin.
Yeah,
His nose.
skinny legs.
That's totally what it is.
It might be a barn owl. It could be a barn owl.
See, it's
I
all
didn't know you
that's
took that
about
in
what
the
a buzzard
picture.
is.
It's still there.
I wonder if he even saw it when he took the
As long as
picture.
it didn't come for him when he crawled.
If I'd have been over there and saw it, one of us would have left.
Okay, well, Jeremy, if there's another picture that is looking straight up.
Archaeological treasure.
This one right here.
El Chupacabra is what it
Okay,
is.
so that is one of the beams that's exposed from the first floor of the log cabin.
So you're on the first floor looking up.
Looking up. So you're seeing a beam and you're looking at the subfloor. And he doesn't believe that subfloor is original. He's probably right because it's a bead board, a 1x8 bead board. And he says that didn't come into common use till the late 19th century. And so they may have had trouble with it, removed the subfloor, because what's above this is plywood,
And then it's the carpet's still up
and
there.
and that's underneath
He
the
didn't
carpet.
move the carpet up there yet or anything?
No, we pulled some of it back
Just
just
to see
to
what the
see
flooring was
see
like.
what the flooring was like, because we thought we'd maybe see this, but we saw plywood on top of it. And that plywood could have been put there just for the carpet, as an underlayment for the carpet, you just don't know. And here again, we didn't want to spend all the money tearing all that stuff out, we just wanted to do the exploration. We know that at least 2 of the original windows were buried and new windows were put outside. So we're gonna have to, that's gonna be one of the decisions we're gonna have to make, is what do we do about, do we make the old window locations?
What do you mean by buried?
Well, what they
So-
did is the windows upstairs were right here. And what they did is they buried it under wall material.
So you got 2
Okay.
windows
So
there.
Yeah, drywall.
Covered it up, I got
Yeah,
you.
they
You got
covered
2
it with.
windows. If you expose the brick, take
Well,
the brick off.
well, we know there was one window here that got buried. We don't know here because that's the bathroom that we have not torn any walls off of. There is a new window further to the corner, and from the attic in here, you can see there was another window buried here that was opposite of this one. I'm assuming that there probably was one here, and maybe there is one in the bathroom, because there's one further out in the bathroom now.
So those windows were probably part of the original
Right.
log cabin?
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we're gonna have to, one of the decisions we're gonna have to make is, do we want to have the old window locations and try to match logs on the new windows? Or do we want to stay with where the new windows are, which are much bigger windows, not typical of the period, because glass was expensive in the 1700s. And, so one way or the other, if we want to have exposed logs on the outside, we're going to have to replace logs. I think my tendency would say, let's go with the original window locations, because we want to make it as authentic as possible. If we got to find logs anyway, let's.
How close are they together?
They're
The windows.
They're fairly close. There's probably a foot or foot and a half in between them.
How big are they?
Well, the smaller one is probably 24 by 30 or 36, and the bigger one is a modern window that's wider and not as tall.
Like
Probably
3 by 3 or?
Like four wide by 3 high or something like
Would it be out of the question and weird to just combine them and make one window?
that. I think it would be.
Or 2?
I think it'd be weird, but what we'll want to do sooner than later is this whole group do a tour, because we want to see what we're making decisions on. And maybe that's what we would do next Thursday, if the weather was permitting. So,
Have our meeting there?
so finally, we never went up into the attic. We could kind of see up, and all the timbers and everything looked fine up there, but we got to rip out a closet to get up there, and we just didn't think it was worth the time at this point. We know it's the original roof structure, and it's in good shape because there's no sagging or anything.
Look at what you're talking about right here.
No,
Yeah,
I'm talking about no, neither of those is that, I'm talking about over the log area.
That's the new addition or the newer part of the.
Is that helpful?
No, that's B and C.
What we're
That's the
looking
new,
at,
that's
this
the
is attic over
18,
the dining and kitchen.
yeah, that's the 1830 edition. So that's all that he had on section A.
I wonder what the dates are on those newspapers.
Oh, I looked at some of them. Some of them are from the 70s and,
Oh.
yeah. What we did see, Stephen, that you haven't seen is upstairs on one of the walls is a picture of the Tennessee Methodist or the Methodist Journal or something. I took a picture, I'll show it to you afterwards, and it's from 1891. And it was like lacquered or varnished to the old logs. It's just really a funny thing, but they must have used it for insulation where the chinking was maybe leaking air or something. Okay, so house sections B and C, I've combined them because we've discovered they were built the same way. So that's basically where this opening is, all the way back to the back of the house. You can see the framing where I took the wall
So
off.
right here, B, this, what is opening is, what you're seeing right here is the dining room.
Yeah, this
On
is
this
the-
map, on this drawing, what you.
Yeah, this
And
is
you
the-
can see this doorway right here,
This
that's
is-
going back to the kitchen back
Right.
behind that door.
Standing in the living room, looking into the
Yeah.
dining
You're
room.
looking this way.
Yeah, we're,
There you go, right there.
this is what you're looking at, right?
Right.
Upside down.
Right.
We're in the living room, we're looking
Looking
into the
into
dining
the
room,
dining
looking through that.
Right.
Into the
So
kitchen.
this right there is this right here.
Yeah.
So this framing is typical of all exterior walls. So those are like a 4x4, and they've got a lot of these cross brace lettings. That's this wall, that's the exterior walls, it's the back wall. All of them are like that. The floor is the round logs where we saw the bird. So those are what he calls debarked round logs. So these
So
are.
this is underneath,
This is underneath all of that area of B and C.
okay.
And these planks, these ramps, you can see they're random width. This might be 6 inches, this might be 14, this might be 8 right there. Those are all 1.25 inch thick planks.
That's original.
That's original.
Okay, these are all good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying that was the floor or that was the subfloor?
That was the floor,
So they had nothing between the
right,
joists and the floor?
right, until
Just
they
house
put
and
the hard,
cheese.
they put the hard, yeah. Until they put the hardwood floor above it, and that must have come sometime in the early
Full floor.
1900s. And they probably, because they didn't like air coming up through the planks.
How far is that from the ground to the bottom of the beam?
What, 18 inches?
From the ground,
It's,
yeah.
it's probably 24 to 30
Oh.
right here, but it
No.
narrows down a little bit.
I noticed they got the soil pipe laying right on the ground.
Right.
That's kind of weird.
And you know, most of this, he said, was supported by rocks.
Concrete right there.
And they must have had a failure. You see the split in that log right there?
Yeah.
So they brought block here and wedged a,
2x4.
yeah, it's just, you know, make it work. That's what they did.
Frontier engineering.
It's got electrical right there going.
So this,
down
Yeah.
the hall.
this flooring is inch, you said inch and a half. That's running the entire length of the dining and kitchen.
Right, right.
In that, that's running the entire length.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's not tongue and groove, and I'm
This
sure it's
opening
just
right
butt
here.
jointed
All here, this flooring
everywhere,
is,
all the way to the back wall.
All of B and C, right? Is that
Yeah,
what you're
all
saying?
of B and
Okay.
C.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. When we do the tour, you guys are gonna love it.
It's gonna make that
I just wanna see that little
1960s
bird.
hardwood look weird.
Yeah, I'll let you crawl under and look at the bird. And then on top
It's a
of,
kookaburra.
yeah.
you go snipe hunter.
So, like I said, above the planking is the hardwood floor, the 2 1/8. And we need to make a decision whether we want to see the random width planking or if we want to leave it the oak floor.
I mean, how old is, I mean, this is
This is probably 100 years, 120 maybe. you know, that's.
Around 1900 is when this floor was. put.
Probably.
I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that? I mean,
I think we need to know costs to know what decisions to make. I mean, we're gonna need to know what everything's gonna cost to see how much money we have before we decide to rip up floors that could be refinished, correct? They could be refinished.
They could be refinished,
I
yeah.
think that might be a cheaper option than just, you know.
Foreseeably, over in the corner or somewhere that's not in the main area, they might cut out a small section of this floor
See
and
what's
expose the
underneath that.
other floor underneath it so people could see what was originally
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, put a piece of plexiglass or
Yeah,
something.
glass over it so they could see.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and actually all the way through to see the logs
Beneath.
would be really cool.
yeah, that's a good idea.
And those are good options. The walls, Jeremy, go back to that dining room, because that's a pretty good. So those 4x4s that are running vertically with the diagonal some of them are hand hewn and some of them are sawn. And like I say, they're around 24-inch on center. There's another picture, Jeremy, that shows the same kind of wall section. That's close to where that Franklin stove was.
Yes.
That one right there. Okay, so you see the same thing. This wall here, if you look through it, you'd be looking to the dining room. You look through this wall and you're looking into the laundry area D. This is a fireplace that was used. You can just barely see the circle where the Franklin stove was plugged into it. It's very old.
So that's in the dining room? or
That's in the dining room. Oh, no, it's in the kitchen area.
Okay.
So,
That's just.
That's exposed and it's got a cap on it.
Right.
But you can see that, yeah, before
Yeah.
that wall was taken
In the
down, you could,
one-story
it was still
area.
there, yeah.
yeah.
David, that's the floor right there is the concrete floor, the block floor.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah, yeah.
Right here, yeah. Yeah, he didn't quite get it into the picture, but you can see a little bit of it there. So one of the things about this, you can tell is really old because this is wood lath and plaster. And you almost never see that anymore. You can see the white lines, that was the cement, the plaster. And what they would do is take like a 3/8 inch thick piece of resawn wood and they would just hammer. You know, that's what all these nail holes are for. They would just hammer it in place. And then the plasters would come in and they would mortar a scratch coat, do a brown coat, and then a finished plaster.
But they had that in like the 1940s and 50s.
They did,
right?
they did, well, they didn't do wood lath much after 1930.
Okay.
You know, I redid a house that was built in 1910 and this was throughout. But when you get into the later years, it was 1930s when they started using plasterboard with holes in it. So, because it was just a lot
And
less.
metal lath.
And metal
Wire.
lath.
Did you check the diagonal cuts made on the 2x4s to get that diagonal board in there for reinforcement? How was that done?
You know what, I didn't look real closely.
That's a big deal.
We were rushing through because we were
Because
trying to
most
beat the
times
rain.
nowadays, if they choose to do that, do it with a skill saw and knock it out with a hammer, but
Right.
if that's done with a hatchet or chisel or whatever to
Yeah.
get that diagonal cut, depth has to be just right, and that would be.
Yeah, I would imagine
Interesting to date.
they had saws in the 1830s that they could do with that, but they would have used chisels. So anyway, these walls are throughout that back area, which was another indication that is very old, and of course the lath and plaster makes it quite old too.
Did you say what that is right there on the right side, the blocks going up?
That's a fire flue.
Is it stacked?
For a Franklin
Okay.
stove, there's a connection.
Well,
And-
it's
and that's-
ceramic or, not something, it's like clay and
You know, it looks
hollow
like,
blocks.
it looks like concrete, which
It does, that's
shouldn't
what-
have withstood the heat, but.
David, is that the?
Oh,
is
you know
that
what,
the-
this is brick here.
Yeah, but the low ones are
brick
real
on
ones.
This is block, which is just supporting the brick, because the heat was intense right here. And so they had enough brick to displace all the heat that might go down, and then it was brick all the way up. Yeah, I forgot about
Is that where that little raised platform is in there, right in front of that,
Yeah,
isn't it?
right
Yeah,
there.
that's what I tripped over it twice, once going in and once
Yeah.
coming out.
What are you doing in there?
But those.
Breaking the
those-
law, have me
those
arrested.
blocks,
Public
though,
property.
David, why
Do
would
what?
they be
Public
there?
property.
The public property, there's a little
Just to
sign down there that
support
says
the
that.
old could they be?
I don't know. I don't know.
Were you
And,
asking?
you know, that
Because
fire
the
pit,
addition is after that.
yeah, but this could have been put in after the addition.
I would assume so.
Because the kitchen addition you said was 1840s.
1830 to 1840, but this Franklin stove, they may have not decided to do that till 1890,
Would they have proposed blocks then?
maybe. You know, Chris was gonna do some of that research, I didn't do.
That's on the corner of the section that we're kind of considering taking out.
Taken off, yeah.
Because that's going into the mudroom, laundry room, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was asking. that.
Yeah, the doorway to the laundry
Is right
room is
there.
right here.
Yep.
And that's on the corner, so.
On the corner.
So that's a point that we'll have to consider what to do with.
Right, right. Okay, so,
Basically, you're right.
It's about here.
Right there.
Yep.
No,
This, right, it's
yeah,
right in
sorry
here, it's on
about
this
that.
wall right here.
yeah, because that's.
Right in here, and then that's the mudroom, and that's the door going outside.
Right.
Actually, it's right there,
See what they.
because there's the door.
yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah, exactly. So, Jeremy, go to one of those attic pictures now.
Yeah, it's all story, just different generations.
So, this is the back directly above the kitchen cabinets and everything. You can see that these roof rafters, actually the ones that are lower, those are the originals. They tagged on or sistered these other ones later to cover over the laundry area. You don't see that on this side, but these are all pretty much hand-hewn rafters. And this is the back gable wall over the kitchen's back wall. And so you get a really good idea of the construction and what age those materials were. What you have all the way over the dining room and the kitchen are 4x4s or 4x8s, 4x6s. I never got to the bottom of it because there's so much blown insulation. And I don't know what the ceiling is, but it feels like it's wood. So it may have been covered with drywall, but it feels like wood when I pound on it. So that is consistent all the way from the end of the log cabin or the beginning of the dining room, all the way back, and they're running from the wall. This is a 20-foot span from here to here.
David, is this crawling through that little access hall and then looking
Yeah.
on down towards the
Right,
kitchen?
after you come up the stairs,
Yeah.
you do a 180
Okay,
and go
I got
in.
the opposite view of that.
So, I'm gonna bring up the floor plan. So, right, this wall right here, the exterior wall of the window,
Right.
that's right here,
Right
at the
here.
bottom.
Right.
So, you're upstairs looking in.
Right about
This-
here.
The photo's being taken right in here, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You come up the stairs and then the opening to the attic is right here.
Could they have taken some of the material that they removed under section A and used it to scab on to those rafters up there to go above the laundry room?
They could have, but the timbers would have been much bigger. Those
Bigger,
floor timbers would have been huge.
Okay.
Because they were making a span of about 20 feet.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, like, so the laundry room, D,
Mhm.
is that something that needs to be gotten rid of, because not?
I think so, and Chris definitely thinks so.
Okay, I mean, because we don't want anything that's not obviously original, but that's would bring, you're basically bringing back to the 1790s up to the
Yeah, when-
1830s
When he
with
climbed,
A and B and C.
when he climbed under here, and this is about 8 inches lower than this floor here, he said and this is where that access is that we've seen from the back of the building. It's right here. He said all of this framing is very similar to this framing. So whenever they replaced the floor in the log cabin, and it could have been around 1900, that may have been when they built this. We think all of this was 1830. So we've got 1790 here, 1830, and maybe 1900 to 1920, somewhere in there.
Over here it says 1960, so what is it?
That was
The
when the brick
remodel.
veneer.
That's the brick
came.
veneer.
Yeah, that's the
That's the
remodel.
outside.
And it could have been that late. It actually could have been that late because if the brick veneer, if the foundation was put in, the concrete foundation around the house was put in to support the brick, it would make sense that they did that in 1960. So there's a lot of,
Talking about the laundry room and bath, could have been 1960.
it could have been. It could have been. And we won't know until we really dig into this flooring. The thing is, in 1960, regular 2x4s were about 1 5/8 by 3 3/4. I didn't see that when I opened up the wall right here. So those studs were later, and you just, it's a big mystery. It's a big jigsaw puzzle trying to figure this out. He wrote 1960. So
For brick, yeah.
yeah, but also he thinks maybe for this room, because he's saying 1830 to 1840 is this, 1790 is this.
Right.
And he thinks it's 1960, and it might have been. It might have been. Because I didn't see any sign of wood lath and plaster here, so.
But the main point being, more than likely D is something that we take away.
Right.
It's less that have to renovate and go back to A, B, and C
Yeah.
as the original structure.
And so, what I say there is, this section of the house appears to have been constructed much later, as evidenced by construction materials used. Unless I discover something out of the ordinary, as we progress in the renovation, I don't believe this section is worth saving as part of the original house. If the committee chooses to keep it as a service area, that is your decision to make.
Gotcha.
So, might want to use that to store things. It's got a bath in it.
Okay, so that could be just a modern, keep that on just for
Right.
modern, okay.
Okay, so his recommendations, from what I've observed on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I believe the overall condition of the house to be a 6.5 to 7. Considering the age of the house, 200 plus years, this is not bad at all. So his recommendation is 1, to expose the log walls inside and out and fix the issues noted above. 2, apply an exterior oil sealer on the logs and install new chinking throughout the house. You won't know about that until you expose everything. Keep the 1840s edition, it's too old to discard. Demo the 1960s edition. 5, if you want the original wide plank flooring look, then demo the T&G strip flooring throughout the house. Remove the subfloor in section A in the log cabin, because that's newer, and install wide random planks. Otherwise, the current hardwood floor looks presentable. And then 6, demo all existing utilities and bring the house up to code. And then he's got some costs here that are not complete. And I talked to him about that. And the reason they're not complete is because until we remove the brick on the outside and all the wall surfaces on the inside of the log cabin, we just don't know how much we're gonna have to replace in logs, how much chinking we're gonna have to do, and what it's gonna cost. So, until it is determined what the final use of the house will be, and that's also something we're gonna have to decide. I think we kind of have decided that it's not gonna be for, it's not gonna be Disneyland there. We're not gonna have people going through and leaving it open like the
Well, I know.
Douglas Clark house.
I mean, you've got the Bridal House as an example of a home, historic home the county was gifted, that the county has turned over to a Friends of group. And I know there's discussion about that being formed for the Latimer House, and where it's just like, basically just like the Bridal House. Bridal House, you can't go in anytime you want to, it's not open to the public, it's run by a nonprofit group. So I foresee this being the same type of situation. At one, it's no cost to do that, other than just whatever the basic utilities the county's paying for the Bridal House, it'd be about the same for this, which is pretty minimal. And obviously, hopefully, if there's funds left over on the renovation, we could apply that, be applied towards what the council says for the perpetual maintenance and upkeep of the home. And so that's, we hope that we can actually save some funds to go, whether it's $10,000 a year, $5,000, whatever, it is to I can't remember what the Bridal House was a year with them, but I see it as a comparable apples to apples comparison on how it's run, how it's accessible, the accessibility of it. It's not like, as far as like, I think you need like a basic bathroom in there, because like you might have a civic group or, open for, a period day,
Kids
something.
are
You know, it might be, you know,
School
for
tour,
kids,
something like that.
school tours, you know, kids to come in from different schools to do tours, part of elementary school tours and stuff like that. I think the Bridal House does that. But it's open to, they have the days and put period pieces in there, you know, and retrofit it back to 1790s, early 1800s. But more, not like the Douglas Clark House, but that was based on a grant. You have to have a full-time employee there all the time, and it's like, the house almost looks like it's very, it doesn't look like the originality, in my opinion, like the Bridal House does, or
Right.
like this will look with this wood. It's almost like plastic looking a little bit, the Douglas Clark House. I mean, I'm not using the right description there, but it's a little bit more.
The Douglas Clark House is too perfect.
Correct, it's not, it doesn't have that period imperfection that you expect with just
Right. Yeah,
working with a gym like this.
They had
So
limited tools and they were.
I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but that's my opinion, and I know that for citizens' sake, I talk about, give that comparison, so I think that's where we've heard that, you know, after in meetings and stuff. But it makes the most sense, one, from an affordability standpoint, two, from an accessibility standpoint, and three, you can control and limit access to it, and it's not just wide open, you know, and then the Friends Group, I think it's totally being formed, that could be run as a nonprofit, just like what they did at the Friends of the Bridal House, do the same thing here.
Yeah.
At the Bridal House, they're open 1 weekend a month, and on once a quarter, they have a speaker come in,
Yeah.
and they've got it set up for outside when it's good weather. And they went, as far as their seating, it's cedar logs, about like that, with an oak plank sitting on top of them. Very simple, very cheap, and it looks period. I mean, it really does. I mean, it looks really good. But they have someone come in and speak, like say once a quarter, and they call it "If These Logs Could Talk." And they've done a really good job over there. If any of y'all have never gone over to the Bridal House, you really need to go when they have an open house and just get a feel for it,
Yeah,
because they've done a great job.
Toured it and seen it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've
yeah.
done a great job over there.
So, but that, I bring that up because it says, you say, until it's determined what the final use of the house will be. Well, I think that's what we're determining this, we're modeling it after like the Bridal House with the same accessibility. It's not like the Douglas Clark, it's like that, it's limited access. You know, set times, you don't just walk in the house.
Right.
You know, as a.
Right. And that's the way I
24/7.
would see it too.
I know, I've already walked in it, I'm sorry.
I said, did you
I
hear
do
that?
want to say one thing. Jeremy, okay,
But how does that, when he talks about utilities of why you're, I mean,
Yeah.
because I mean, to answer his question, I think we've answered it, you know, of like what we think would be best for that, you know, since he says all utilities are just a ballpark, so I'm curious now that knowing, okay, this is what it's like, so what
well, I don't,
utilities, what else?
if that's what we're gonna do with it, I don't think we need much in electrical. We probably want to have air conditioning, and that's why I made sure we didn't throw away that HVAC unit. Maybe we want to use it, but maybe we want to go with something a lot.
I think you want to, I think you want to have.
Like a mini split system. That may do the trick. And that's a lot less intensive than all this duct
You have
work.
to run the ductwork, yeah.
Yeah.
You talking about like one of those dicon?
Well, yeah, there's several manufacturers. Mitsubishi makes one.
Yeah.
They've got an outside compressor condenser unit, and then they've got something about this big.
Yeah, I know, just on the wall.
Yeah. That may be a way to go. We'll just have to do some research in that.
I have a cousin that owns the old Williamson house in Goodlettsville, that came down through the family over there, and he actually has 2 of those that he's installed inside the house right there. And I asked him when we were over there for the Easter gathering right there, and I said, how's it doing? He said, they're great. So they don't take up as much space, and
Right.
they
It's small piping that goes from the outside to the inside.
No, they're not cheap. You still can easily spend about, you know, $10,000 to $15,000 per unit of one of those things. So it's not, I mean, I don't think you're saving money necessarily from doing an HVAC.
Well, they've come down a lot. You can buy a
They're a lot
package unit
cheaper
from
than that.
Lowe's now. You can get
What-
something
Depends on the quality you get and the lifetime expectancy of what you expect to get out of it. I'll just say that. It depends on, I guess, the harsh usage and harsh. I just said next to my brother my grandfather built a brick beach house in Florida on the Panhandle in the 1950s. no HVAC, he has to use those, but like salt water, obviously corrosive. And so, I mean, it just depends on the harshness of the environment.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
the humidity here in the summer, I mean, we go from 0 degrees in the winter to 100 degrees in the summer in
Right.
the same year.
Yeah.
So
I've got 2 of those in the dance studio, and they've been working pretty well, so.
Yeah, I've got one in my center.
Do you?
But just point being, I don't know, you know.
We'll have to do the
cost.
research.
It'd be
Because
stressful.
we don't want, you know, have a constant maintenance issue. So, you know, he's got electrical at 16,000. I don't know that it's gonna be that much, maybe by the time you run power from the street or whatever.
You would want like lighting in there that's
Yeah.
gonna be like, almost like museum type, like where it's, you know, spotlighting. I mean, you're gonna, in the corners, spotting out, like giving a look so you can highlight things or features, where you put period pieces in there. So you definitely have to have some good electrical running, so
Right.
you can get some uplighting, spotlighting, can lighting.
But like typical residential has to have a plug every 12 feet. I don't think we want that. Probably
No.
don't need that. So plumbing, 13,000. Here again, it depends on,
Do you keep?
we've already got a bunch of plumbing there.
You've got plumbing upstairs, but more than likely, that's gonna all be ripped out in that bathroom at the top left corner, right?
Right, but if we kept the 1960s
That
portion.
could be your, just remodel that, and that's the public restroom.
But you're ripping out fixtures, not necessarily plumbing.
Correct.
Right,
Well,
You
yeah.
got lines that go that may still be fine.
yeah, and they are. I think they are. HVAC, 20,000. I'm sure that'll cover whatever we would do in there.
Well, you're talking about plumbing, if you, that bath is downstairs, right? You're probably talking about like
So-
more, I don't know, I guess we'd have to be ADA compliant with this? I don't know, 'cause
I don't-
we're not doing a grant or anything, it's just.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, what is the bridal house? Is it, I mean, is it just a bathroom with a bar?
There's
I mean,
probably exceptions for.
The Broad House is definitely not ADA compliant.
Okay. So
They got an
Exceptions for
exemption.
They got an
historic types.
exemption.
Yeah, I talked to Miss Wright, and she said they got an exemption
But that's
because
something-
it was a historical.
But that's something we gotta figure out, if we are or we're not, or is there somewhere in between where we make it historical?
Well, we're not going, we talked about Gen Ops, we're not going for historical grants for the periods of like, you saw the politics and the stupidity that happened around that.
Right.
And
That's
then you
what
get
I'm
like
saying.
all these things, this is just like, we're gonna restore it, and then when it's done, you know.
We've got a custodial group, a 501c3 that's gonna.
Correct, but it's like, but I mean, then we can look, you put it on the registry after that maybe, or we can, you know, make our own plaque. I mean, you know, we wanna have some kind of
We should
identified
probably
marker.
ask our law director if there, what the regulation is for non-historical. If we don't register it as historical, do we have to do ADA? Or is there something in between where we can fall into not having to do an ADA, knowing that we're gonna try to make it historical or as period correct as possible?
I'd be curious to know the bridal
You can probably
house,
tell us.
whether, what the county did with that, when they, after the gentleman passed away, the county acquired it in 2019. Did they do what needed to be done and then go try to get on their historic registry? Because that's a big difference versus just somebody, a house that's a residence, you know, if you want to it. I mean, this is a house that's a resident. I mean, there's no restriction to what we do here. It's what we're restricting
Right,
ourselves
they had to
do.
go backwards.
But once you start getting historical side is involved,
Yeah,
you know, that's when you, and that's one thing Chris talked about. It's like, if you put it on the register stuff, that's when you have to go to like the original the nails, and you have to use the same method. You take a $200,000-300,000 project and turn it into a $2 million project.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you-
I've heard just be with extreme caution going through the historical registry, because then there's they have all these rules that.
We don't intend to do
Yeah.
that until we're done, because it's
Yeah.
like, one, it would be affordable, it'd be cost prohibitive, and it would take years versus like, okay, we can still do it, you know, use modern techniques to hide it, to bring it up to the historical standard, versus when you go through that process, it's like wooden nails with like
Yeah.
mallets and like,
Yeah.
bonnets, I mean.
You have to wear a bonnet while you're doing it?
Well, house on the
Keep
roof.
the owls away. So, but you see what I'm, again,
Yeah.
these, I mean, since we're getting into the nitty gritty here, and this is what we're really are interested in, like, when do we get past like fluff and get into like, okay, what are we gonna do? Let's start making some decisions.
Yeah.
I think we're eager to get there, but that's, I mean, to answer his questions, I wish Chris was here, but, you know, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I think we have some exploring to do as far as.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of research and explore, and we can count on him because a lot of this he just knows naturally. I've got a friend up in Macon County that I'm gonna take through the house too. kind of become the historic building repair guy up in Macon County. And I want to get his opinion, I want to get him and Chris together so that those guys can see what, they've encountered, since they both work on historic houses in this Middle Tennessee area. And I can get Rex there for nothing, I'm sure. He just loved going through it. So what I wanted to say about this area here, okay, let's focus on the roof structure. Jeremy, go back to the picture that I was talking about the hand unit, that one right there. Okay, these top rafters look to be about the same age as the lower ones. And those are the ones that go all the way to the outside wall of the laundry room. They go all the way. And so that appears that at least there was a 10-foot covered patio area.
They just
Yeah.
easily could have been.
It could have been. So, we'll know more when we get into it, but when you look at the one by sheathing of, underneath the roof, and none of these were sheet metal roofs, and that's another thing we want to think about. Do we want to use historic roof material?
What would it have been?
I think it would have been cedar
Shakes.
or something like that. But, the problem with cedar shake is it deteriorates a lot faster than sheet metal does. So maybe we want to just leave the sheet metal. I don't know that there's.
I think the sheet metal would be fine.
Yeah, it's kind of become the historic thing.
But
I
the bridal
just-
house, it has sheet metal,
Yeah.
sheet metal on top too, so they did the same thing.
Right.
Cedar, once you've taken that, it's yours for the
Yeah,
rest of the life. Right there, I think.
My house in California had a cedar shingle roof.
Yes.
Geez, it's on there 10 years and it's already going, so.
It rots.
But he did talk about
It's rot.
Yeah.
other costs to consider: $8,000 to remove the existing roof, $18,000 to put a new roof on, remove the brick veneer and all siding material underneath it, $16,000, remove entire porch, so that's the top, and you can see where that's tied into the logs. They really butchered it up pretty bad. And the concrete slab, he's thinking $10,000. Dumpster fees are $4,800. New windows and doors, $14,000. That's one of those things we own with my son's building on the square in Gallatin. And I was looking at getting modern windows to fit in it. We ended up buying a truckload of Eastern red cedar, and we built the windows from scratch ourselves. It's a lot of money to do that way, but there is a big difference in old wood windows and new plastic windows or new metal windows. So I'm sure he's not talking about hand-built windows here. He's probably talking about getting a window guy
I
out
think the
there.
bridal house has like original glass panes, right? Or I don't remember, I can't remember.
Could be. You could see it's wavy.
I thought it was, I might have just missed that.
I don't think the back part is, back there where they,
The new part?
yeah, the new part, yeah.
Like the
I don't think, I
main
think that is,
Just
Yeah.
not-
But maybe
Yeah.
the windows in the
You
log.
can
Yeah,
tell that, you can tell
yeah.
that's an addition, that's like almost like an old.
yeah,
green room.
well, it was a patio. That's
Yeah,
what that was, and they
Those glass rooms.
did it with like a little,
So new
garden room or what
new
you call it.
doors and windows, we can talk, that can wait a little while. And then he has driveway question mark because he's not a concrete guy, and new concrete entrance from Wolfpack Way. So, it's well under $500,000 what he's got here, but he's not including everything. He's not including log replacement, he's not including chinking. There's many things that aren't included, but he felt confident when we first went through it that it's not a $500,000 job.
well, what he's got listed is $119,000, $119,800, so.
But that's not finishing work.
No, I know, that's what
But
he's got
if we
listed here.
multiplied that times 3,
Yeah.
we're still well under our budget.
I mean, I don't think really we can make any decisions until we actually get him in front of us.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I wanna talk about it as much as we can, and get it out on the table.
Yeah. So I think some of the things that we need to talk about is the 501c3. I really feel strongly that somehow we should have custodial groups, you know, and I'm not talking about just the Bridal House, just the Brown House, I'm talking about the Draper House and the old post office. There are a lot of historic buildings around here that the citizens, the local citizens will do a much better job taking care of it than the county will. And we should, because they take pride in it.
Well, we have an example that was started by the county with the Bridal House.
Yeah, yeah.
They've set the precedent already. The county did.
And
It's there.
that's what I'm hoping out of this 501c3 that the neighbors, you and the Latimers are talking about.
What is the
So is
footprint of that house? How much property is in the house itself as far as the ground that the house is sitting on? How much?
Talk about the Latimer?
Yes, yes.
In the fenced area?
It's like an acre.
Doesn't matter.
It's- I think it-
Well, I mean, it's,
Doesn't matter.
What
well,
was
right
the-
now it's 80 acres. I mean,
Okay,
so,
yeah.
I mean,
The-
but
the fence-
the part that was excluded from the park plan that they had a grant for was using this money that was supposed to go to the house and was wrongly leveraged. They drew out literally like an acre square or
I think it's at
less.
0.8 acres,
0.8
is what I
It's
recall.
reincorporated back now, so
I
it's
know.
all one piece.
But it was, I'm talking about the portion that was drawn out of their parks plan, and it literally was like forbidden to have anything done with it based on the grant they got and use this, we're trying to use this money for. But that, roughly an acre of centerpiece, I guess.
I was just curious, just spitballing down the road, you know, once they get the house done, that house is in a central location. Since the Board of Education controls the property there,
Well, it's a county owned
The
as
county-
well, they
county-
don't just control, it's not controlled by the Board of
It's
Education.
jointly.
Yeah.
what about allowing the 4-H clubs and the FFA departments from each school to have a little plot on the outskirts of that house that they can come in and practice? You know, they don't have any place that they can go and practice, agriculture or, you know, planting and growing things. What would possibly be an idea for that? That would almost be like a campus for them, you know, where they could come and do things like that.
Sure, I mean, there's plenty of things you can do there outside of that, the house itself. So I mean, and those are great ideas. I think once we get on that road or offering it, but that's,
They can have.
I mean, we were gonna do it with the Comer barn, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
But that can happen independent of all this.
Correct, yeah, but that doesn't involve the house.
No, it doesn't
Yeah.
involve the house. That's
But
just,
We're just focusing on the
Yeah.
On the
house
house,
itself.
and access to the house, the whole property is just,
There.
go over there and walk on it right now, it's a public park. I mean, the commission has named it the William Martha Brown Memorial Park, so the whole thing is a public
It's been a
park.
park for about a year and a half.
Yeah, so, yeah, April of 2024.
So, the one actionable item that I can see on here is, do we wanna go ahead and press for getting a cut-in right there for access to the
We do.
house?
That's-
Because
yes.
that needs to probably go through either the schools or highway. We're in between. We haven't adopted that road yet. But
Still
Toby
owned by
would
the
probably
school.
end up doing the work anyway. So how do we want to proceed with that?
It's owned by the county in Atlanta too, so I mean,
No, I'm saying that the ownership of the responsibility right now
Of the road.
is the school, because
The
it's
road.
Wolfpack Way is owned by the school, so all that concrete and everything, they've done it, but Toby would probably be the one to do the work regardless.
right.
So
and,
who do we need to talk to about going ahead and cutting that in, and then we could get some gravel? Perhaps we could even get Rogers Group or something like that to donate some
So,
gravel to put
one
in a
question,
driveway.
was there a driveway that led up to
Originally
it?
there
And
was.
now
Yes.
that's all grown over?
But
or-
there's a bed there for it, so.
You can
Okay.
see it, you can see it from the
It
road
can
when
be
you drive
milled
down
up, I mean,
Wolfpack.
refreshed.
So I have Cindy McClurg's favorite sheet. This one right here, but, you know, this right here, Stephen, is one thing that is, I'll say, true about that whole plan is the parking. And that does make sense to utilize that, what Tim's talking about. We're gonna have to have.
Culvert
a-
put in.
A culvert put in,
Yeah.
and at least gravel it right here.
And a
then-
curb break.
yeah, that is next steps as far as something actionable we're gonna have to do as far as this committee. Now, is that something like, do we have to use the funds for this? I don't know, from the house? Is that something we can use from, the county, the highway department? Like, what's the cost of materials, like, to get them to do? But I think that's worth pushing up to the general office for June, and to do, and to highway, for June.
I was gonna say, maybe between, I'm gonna throw you under the bus here, drag you with me.
Okay.
Maybe between us, we could talk to Toby and or Roger's group and see what is available for donation or interest in doing the work regardless of donation or pay to do that break-in and culvert work. Because this is for a good cause. It's a county project and it's also, you know, a historic project that we're trying to shine the light on. Maybe we can come with some options or suggestions if we talk to.
Yeah.
those
They
entities.
should have done it before they poured the curb and gutter for Wolf.
We know there was no plan there, so.
No.
The house
Could've-
was not
could've,
thought about
should've.
with that sidewalk.
The house
We
was
didn't know
not
what that
thought
was called.
during
Yes,
that.
yes.
If they dug, that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that
Yeah, they
trench
should
there,
have,
they could've left
but
it.
that's not what part of
Coulda,
the master
shoulda,
park
woulda.
plan.
I think Steve could maybe answer. I have a hunch that in order to get any of this done, we're gonna have to talk to Scott Langford, and he's gonna direct us to Don Long.
I don't know.
If the school owns the road, they've not gone
It's not
for
been
final
adopted yet.
approval, it's not been adopted by the
It's not a
county.
county road.
So it's a private road at this point that's owned by the school system. So have you got any idea where we need to
Be clear
start?
with that language though. The property is owned by the county and the school.
Yes.
Yeah.
The responsibility of the road is owned by the school right now. But I'm sure that they'd be open to whoever doing the work is gonna cost money to cut that in. The school's already spending money on that property anyway. They planted 1,000 trees there 3 months ago.
And they didn't get this county's permission to
They
do
didn't
it.
ask anybody's permission, they're just doing work, so maybe
I
this is
asked,
something they'd be interested in doing.
I asked Dr. Langford about that the other night, and he said, and the mayor had said that once before, that it was a TDAC thing, and.
He said it was a requirement.
Yeah, it was a
Show
requirement.
us, well, show me in writing where those are.
Oh, well, I'm just repeating here. So, and I asked him about it too, and he was telling me they had actually planted 2,600 trees or bushes or whatever those are. And it was required by TDAC because there's a salamander that lives somewhere down in that area. It's kind of almost like a wetlands right through there. It's sloppy.
What's the point though? They're protecting it
Yeah, that's,
after all the construction was done?
I know, I mean, I
How
would have
many
thought it was
salamanders
everything
did they
dead.
kill?
I want to see that in writing.
Yeah, but that's what he
I've been told a
said.
lot of things in this county that are just lied to my face. County mayors.
But you're gonna have to be careful when you're talking about a cut in there, because part of that, you've walked it. It cuts in down there almost to that culvert. And then there's an electrical box right up there, and then it starts, those trees start again on the other side,
But I
so.
think the point though is finding what was original, and that should all be grandfathered in right there. What they've created was not salamander habitat. They may have
Oh.
destroyed some salamander habitat, but they didn't create anything.
Well, they
So-
poisoned it, they poisoned everything above the elementary school again. They did it last year, when they first
Flooding?
cleared the land, and did it all, they came in and did what they usually do with the machines and blowed out the straw and the seed and all that. But the ground was hard packed. There was nothing gonna grow, and nothing did grow except weeds. They came in last year and bush hogged late in the summer, and then they poisoned it. I mean, there was nothing alive up there on that hill, all the way up. They didn't get down next to the
You talking
playground.
Physically sprayed it?
Yeah, sprayed
You
it.
saw them spray it?
So there's
Yeah.
probably no salamanders left.
That was my point. It's probably, everything's probably died down through there by now. But anyway, they sprayed everything. Nothing grew for the rest of the season. It started back this spring.
Probably on the left.
And just in the past month, has anything started to turn green, and they have sprayed it again. So it's everything that was up there, and it all came back weeds anyway. There was no grass. They didn't come in because that's what you do. You go in and spray it, kill everything, then reseed it. Well, they didn't reseed anything, or at least nothing I can tell. And y'all can drive by it. You can tell where it's dead and where it's not, because there's places that there was a couple of wet places they left alone, and up next to the tree line they left alone. And fescue is this tall. If they'd have just seeded it and done it properly the first time, there would be the prettiest field of fescue there that you could ever see. Because Cindy and I drove down beside the school. We went down to see what they were building down there at the corner. of the playground, and we drove down through it, and she's been sneezing ever since. I mean, the fescue is higher than my gator, and it just seeds flying back in her face. So it would be really pretty if they'd actually grown anything, but it's right now everything's dead. And you can see that driveway that we're talking about, where the old driveway is. You can see it just clear because the grass has not grown back like the regular everything else around it has.
Is that actually Mr. Brown's driveway?
Yeah, that's Mr. Brown's driveway.
It used to come off right there.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I was
right
asking.
there in the curve.
It used
Yeah.
to come right back in there.
Okay.
Yeah, and right about where that, just to the left of to that culvert, you can see the drive just went just right up to the house.
So, I mean, I'll ask right now, if anybody knows anybody with any kind of, groundwork services, I've seen that gravel driveway refreshing where they underdig it and turn the stone back up and get the weeds out. If anybody knows anybody with anything like that wants to, quote that or donate some time, it'd be great to find that driveway. But if you would help me, we could reach out to between Rogers Group and Toby to see what it would cost and get some estimates on if they're interested in doing the culvert or the break-in of the curb.
Mhm.
And then if Stephen could ask, does he need to ask about the process for doing that, or
We
do
need to
get
find out
some-
whose permission we need to do the
For
curb cuts.
breaking of the
when is
curb?
it transferred?
No timeline.
When is it transferring over to in terms of
No time.
responsibility?
There's no timeline.
Okay.
I'm
Now,
surprised. it
I
hasn't happened.
do recall there being, so, some conversation, I can go back and look at some of my notes, but I remember there was, with the traffic situation out there, emails going back and forth there, and I think going back to when Dr. Phillips was director of schools, I think I recall him discussing that eventually that would become a county road, and it would become a county road. I feel like he gave a timeline, so I'll go back and
I'm
look at
surprised it
my
hasn't
notes.
already.
Okay,
You may ask, when is it on the books to become one?
Okay.
Because if we find that it's going to be,
Yeah.
or whatever, we can just redirect to the highway.
It's usually the last thing you do when you have a project like that.
It's used as a cut through quite often. I know
Oh,
that,
it's
yeah.
tremendous cut
Yeah.
through.
Well, the main thing is that, getting that, whatever, some type of drive that you can get, haul a dumpster back there, you know, and drop it off with kids, and so, that definitely, I think, that's something that's something that we can work towards now, you know, as far as like, there's nothing, you know, now that's just gonna be a matter of, you know,
So we'll try to
Well,
get those
posturing.
answers by.
the original driveway is that if you got in there and just cleared,
no.
it's still
Because
not.
it cuts across now and,
Okay.
Yeah,
it won't be the same driveway. It's
I got
going to be
you.
new and coming
Okay.
straight out.
Is it curvy? Was it curvy before?
Yes.
It
Yeah, it
Curved
made
across. It cut
it's
across.
like that right
Curve
there.
back in and loop back.
See the house
into
right here?
house.
Yes, the driveway over here and cut this way. We're gonna have to make a driveway that comes straight out. And that's the only way we're gonna get it.
And part of it's still there. You can use part of it until it
Starts cutting.
starts to make the curve, because it is just kind of
So
angled
if
up all
we're
the way
not
to the
using original,
corner.
Then that would be a point of talking to Director Langford about, because
The
now
road.
we're carving a path, the driveway,
The road.
the driveway.
I know, but I know, but you're talking about the road, the county doesn't, it's not a county road yet, but you're only talking about the road. Remember, the property is county and schools.
I know, so there's gonna be some discussion on the path of the driveway, since we're not following the original.
We're up to a point, but I don't think we can, literally because of the way they constructed the school. It's impossible.
I understand
So-
that, but there's gotta be a choice made on where it does go.
Well, that just, I don't think there is. a
You want it to
choice.
go straight.
That's not what I
there.
want. I think it's the only
Well,
option. I think
I
there's
know.
one option.
Okay, well, that option's still gotta be decided on.
I mean, that option's in
between-
this drawing. I mean, I'm going by the drawing. That
So
they,
you wanna put it where it shows it there?
yeah, that's the only place you could put it. Then you have one option, and
Yeah, I think with the wetlands on both
That's literally the only
sides.
option.
Stephen have work to do,
I don't know.
because we're asking about the possibilities of getting it put in, where are we gonna put it? That's the next point that needs to be decided.
I don't,
needs to be researched. Somebody needs to be talked to, or
Well, there must have
I
been
don't-
some research
I
done
don't
by
agree.
whatever that.
I'm not
we
agreeing
can
with
do
it.
it.
I'm just, there's nothing to, it's, no more than talking about what we're talking about doing with the house. The driveway, pretend the driveway's the house. We're having the same discussion. Make no, it's just a discussion. But the problem is the road. Forget the land. Think about the asphalt.
I'm
The
saying if
road.
we get that covered and they're ready to cut it in
Well, I think we
tomorrow.
put it back where, it needs to go where this, I think this drawing is. That's the only thing that I saw good from that drawing.
I would like that. I mean, that's.
That's the only thing that
fine
makes
with me,
sense. I mean, that's the only thing that I saw that was, I agree with on that drawing.
Is it something that has to go to get decided upon by a group outside of
Well,
this
you're,
group?
the same question you're asking is for the whole process. I think you're trying to make that into something that's not. So
I'm
you-
trying to prep work that we can come back with answers for either next Thursday or by general operations. I want some answers on these two things: culvert, curb cut, where it's going. I want
You're the
those.
highway chairman, so I want you to find out.
We're doing that part, but as far as where it goes, that's where I thought there may be a discussion with the school, because it's somewhere on that 88 acres of property.
So, I don't
Does
know
anybody
how to
else
explain
follow
this
what I'm
exactly.
You're just saying that the way that it's all laid out, there's only,
Tim,
it
I
only.
want you to look at this.
Let's make it more
And I think
There's only one
that's
option.
right.
It's there.
I don't see, I agree with Jeremy, there's, the way they've
There's
got
nothing
it
to
set up
discuss.
right now, I
That's
don't
it.
think there's any other
There's no
place you
options,
can
there's
put
no
it.
asking, it's just that.
Okay, so we come up with a way to do it, we bring it to Gen Ops, they vote on it, commission votes on it, we just do it.
I don't know
See that
that
one
one.
more time. So,
I'm just saying, that is the only question, that's the
It's
answer to
too
your
short
question.
of a path.
I
so
think,
the old original driveway.
House is gonna be in the
Let me
way,
get some
but
glasses
that's
on here
the
so I
only-
can
there are
see
no
what
other
we're talking about.
options. to
the old
physically
original
do
driveway
this.
said that right here is where Hunter's Lane is,
Okay,
a real
the
sharp
other
curve.
routes, yep.
But the old driveway was
If
the
you're asking
same
for the routes,
spot,
they don't exist.
and then
Yeah,
just
that's it.
kinda
Well, and
angled
the other
down
thing
like
is-
that right there, and
Whatever.
went right up into that
That
house.
Florida
So
initiative
it went
is a civil
through-
engineering
Oh, yeah.
company.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, but where it's got, where it's gonna, what he's talking
Part
about right now,
They-
see, there's a
You know, they
culvert
probably
right
done
here.
engineering
And,
to
so it
locate
can't be
that
there, there's
drive.
an
They-
electrical
they
box
probably
right
got
there.
meets and bounds.
All that,
It's
those
probably
bushes
there.
that they planted and
They
everything
probably
do that,
got it.
and then they
Yeah.
do
There's a
this,
point
so
to hang
you
this
pretty
up.
well,
It's just gotta be right in here
Yeah.
somewhere.
I want
right in
to
there.
nail
Right
it
there.
down
You know, what we,
as soon as possible.
you know, what we used to
I
do.
mean, what you're talking about, we've taken installed for a year over that point right there, so I'm not.
That's why I'm saying, go ahead and ask the question now, get that year
I
started.
don't think there's any questions to ask, I think it's just, it's something that we do.
Okay.
That's what I think, because.
Get a
So basically, it's just, okay, we need
to put that
to
driveway.
put that driveway in, and that, there, you can't put it over here, you can't put it over here, it's gotta be.
No, where the original driveway was, that you
He
put it
was
there,
saying
and
when-
the problem is, there's like a box culvert here with electrical work.
Right.
Where the driveway was.
Right, yeah,
You
yeah.
can't do that anymore, like it went, this driveway actually went like at a 45-degree angle,
Yeah.
cut across the entire property, and came out that where that road is. And so that doesn't exist anymore, you can't physically do that, you have to come straight out in an opposite direction, which is the shortest path, it's actually the, best case scenario, coming right out there. But that's the option. I mean, but that's the only thing that makes sense of, as far as like this little property and using the.
Well, it's
$500,000.
shortest distance, least cost.
Yeah.
Correct. But we just need to be able, we gotta cut through the concrete, is
Yep.
a curb there, you gotta have a culvert, and, put that in there with the tile, for drainage, to be able to access across over that. And that's the work that needs to be done.
So-
on this road.
So
that we
highway can,
don't- Correct.
can look
This is a
at that.
highway question.
okay,
I mean, this is all for highway.
okay.
Because that would be work we'd want to engage Toby with, because that's what Toby does. The highway, this is a highway department project.
So do we need to make a motion to get that, explore that?
We can, but I
from
will
there?
do it, we're not back in session yet, so.
Okay.
When we get back in session, we can. But yes, I think that's a next step that we can have so much fun in the next couple of months arguing that from the floor of the commission.
So
just to put a
one
box
question I
over.
have is if
And,
if the road is still under the school's responsibility, is that going to hinder, is that going to hinder cutting into that and putting in a drive?
Well, it depends on who wants to hinder it. It'd be a political decision to hinder it, not a physical.
That's why I want that known today, as soon as possible.
What,
Because if it
then
becomes a
why don't you just say
political
what you want to
issue-
say then? 'Cause okay.
If it becomes a political issue, we need to know sooner rather than later.
I
I
can't
don't want
answer
to wait
that.
till we get the whole plan, everything pretty, and then go ask, and it's been a month or two, and then we find out
You don't
it's a
have to
political
go
issue.
ask. That's the whole point.
That's kind of where I'm
I
at.
mean, you are so hyper-focused on permission. We don't need
They've
permission.
made it clear from the beginning that we will have to work together on this whole thing to get any of it done. There will be
But that's part
allowances
of the
denied
house.
or accepted.
Tim, we don't need the permission of anybody to do this as it's a county project. It's county property, it's a county house, so money was left to the county for this.
Yeah, that's what I was
purpose.
thinking, if it's the county house.
There's no
it's-
permission.
You gotta have a,
Access.
you
This
gotta
has
have
to be done.
access, I mean,
Well, what I always did when we had construction sites before we were ready to cut in a swale for driveways, is we threw down a 6-inch piece of PVC, got 20 bags of temporary asphalt and just threw it over it.
Yeah.
That's an easy temporary fix.
okay.
And
This will be more like a
we don't,
24, 36 inch. The size
no,
of
I'm
that.
talking about where the curb is. Just to jump the
Oh,
curb.
gotcha.
Just to jump the curb. Yeah, as far as the,
Yeah, but you get up on the ground, then you still gotta go
This is a
like this
long-term
in
solution
that
that- as
grass.
part of the house. This is a permanent solution,
Yeah.
period. Whether, it's not short-term, it's long-term, but.
Right.
We can get over the curb.
It's something you can do in the short term, without touch the house, but regardless, it's gotta be done,
yeah,
period. There's just there's no discussing it. It's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
yeah.
Um,
Well, Toby's probably got corrugated metal pipe.
I guess I just want Director Langford on record supporting this. From as early as
He's been on
possible.
record not supporting the entire project, Tim, so, what, I mean, I don't know. We
Well,
just keep-
and it's like you say, it's a public park.
Yeah,
That means the county controls it, I think.
It's on school property.
no,
Well,
it's a county project.
well, I mean-
It's on school
If-
property, which.
Jointly
school-
owned by the county.
Yes.
I know.
Right, so I mean, it's a property and, you know, it's gotta have access. I mean, and so, under whose jurisdiction would that fall? I mean, I would think that it's, I mean, I don't know, I would think it's county to me.
So who's the county?
So-
The mayor or the county commissioner?
Well, if there's a property doesn't have access and it needs access, what's the protocol?
County commission controls county property statutorily.
Starts at Gen Ops,
So I
I
mean,
would think.
you know, bring that to the floor and, we need a cut in, we need a drive, to have access.
Yeah.
So I don't see what the schools would, I don't know
It is not
what they
a
would
county
do
road.
to, why they would stop that or how they could. I mean, it's,
Because they can, not how they could.
yeah, but if it's county-owned property and there are laws
You're making
that,
different statements that I don't agree with.
there are
It is
laws that
not
say it's,
county
you gotta have
road.
access, you know,
It's
so
not
that.
a county
that-
road.
County,
It'd be like-
it's a public county park. That crosses the road, both sides.
I mean, you're cutting into something that we don't have.
It's gonna be a county road.
Gonna be, and we could probably cut it when it is, but it's not yet, and that's
Unless
my
we have
point.
permission. So
That's
maybe,
my point.
Ben, that's why I raised the 6-inch PVC with, you know.
That gets us
tech-
on the land, we still gotta traverse the,
Yeah, I know, but
Valley.
that's county property at that point. Once we're past the curb or there's a right of way, then, and so if that low spot that needs a culvert is on county property, then we just say, let's do it. Let's put in a pipe. And we can put in a temporary pipe or we can put in a permanent pipe. I like the permanent
I like
pipe, so
it
if it's,
one time.
if it's an 18-inch, RCP, great, let's do an 18-inch RCP. Shouldn't be that big a deal.
What do they require over there? Is there flooding issues right there in that area?
They've just cut a swale and you gotta get across it and when it gets muddy,
the wetland is really nearby there.
yeah, so, we need to have good access. We need a culvert, a pipe culvert to get the water from this side to the way it's flowing, and then we need a gravel driveway. And we could do it with the alignment on that plan. I'll just have to look at the plan and see if there's, maybe I can get it from Josh Sudduth. Maybe he's got the drawings that tells us what size pipe goes in there. And then we can just push the issue, get Toby out there. Dr. Langford has no say. I don't believe.
We don't know. So, but I mean, it just comes down to it's a project needs to be done. So if people want to be posturing about it and make it an issue, just to be, that'll be exposed.
Yeah.
Just gonna look bad.
Yeah.
Versus just do the right thing and just need access. So.
That's why I bring it up. I want it known earlier rather than later.
So I will go to work
Well,
and find
you know,
out what
understand we
size
have
ours.
zero answers to any of your questions. You know that, right? I mean, I can't answer any of your questions.
I'm not asking for answers. I'm asking if he has work to do on the school board end, because we're leaving here with homework. I've given myself something to do. I've asked for David's help, and he's the one member of the school board we have here that can do something.
So why don't you? What
If
is your
we
question
decide
to
to do
Stephen?
something.
So ask him a question.
I'm
specific.
asking the body
We need
if
to
he
move on.
needs to do
We're
Well,
something.
beating
I
dead
have my homework. I'm gonna look into it.
Okay,
Yeah,
good enough.
absolutely.
That's good
So I
enough.
mean, that's a valid question, and I want to know. I mean, it was part of discussions in the past, and I even spoke to Dr. Phillips at the time about that roadway, and I remember him telling me, yeah, it's going to transfer to the county and all that, and so I just have to go back and look at my notes, and then of course I will. I'll find out some things for you on that. So yeah, I'm not prepared tonight. I don't know the answer.
No, that's
so,
fine. Just
yeah.
to not do anything would not be efficient for our meeting structure and trying to get things answered by the next Gen Ops meeting.
Okay.
So, any more on this, David? You think, or are we good to go?
I think we're good to go. I think we need to talk about if we want to do our tour next Thursday or if we want to put it off.
I'll bring us back in a session. So we can, I'm going to bring us back in a session. I'm going to make a motion that we send to Highway to explore the plans from here, what it takes to get a gravel cut through on that on the road
Second.
to the property. So.
Second from Commissioner Miller.
So we're going to send it to Highway to explore what it takes to put in the I call it a box culvert, they call it tiles, put in the tile, put in the road, the access gravel, so we can get just like you do on a construction site. Just be, doesn't have to be paved, just gravel inset, cut through. And I think you'd probably need to go and do all the drainage work, I guess, to put the tile in there and to get over that hump. And what would it take just to complete just a gravel drive, or just straight up to connect to the old driveway to the house, to access the property. So that's my motion to send to Highway. Chrissy seconded it. Tim.
I don't think a motion is necessary. If I want it on the agenda, I'll put it on the agenda. But my fear is,
Tell us how you feel.
my fear is that it comes up on the agenda and half the room is gonna say, we don't own that road, this is none of our business. And nobody's gonna want, and Toby will probably back up, I think I'd be better off just talking to him sidebar
Okay.
and seeing if it's something.
I'll
That's
modify
why
my
I
motion to send
suggested
it to
it.
Gen Ops.
So I.
Or would you rather not do anything?
Well, if I could find out from him sidebar, outside of committee, he'll let me know whether it's proper to put on committee or not. He may say, that's a good thing, because it's coming up next week for adopting it anyway, and that'd be great if he said that. But if he says, I'm not gonna talk about that, we don't even own that road, then we're stuck, with an item on the agenda that we can't even discuss, because it's not ours. So that's why I mentioned for the homework to do that. I would hope that, it's gonna be adopted soon so we could ask that question, but I just don't know that's right for highway committee.
Okay. Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, Stephen King's gonna do the homework, find out what we can do with that road and what we can't. And I'm sure he knows Don Long, he knows Scott Langford, he has access to them. So he can get a feel for what's going on. I will get together with engineering, I will find out where the property line for the street ends and the park begins. I will find out what size that culvert needs to be, if it's been designed yet, and I don't know that it has. And then we can run the footage and figure out how much gravel. It's not a big deal.
Well, it sounds like we don't need a motion to, at this point.
I just, one thing that I am one question I have is the legal issue of what we're talking about is who has jurisdiction over this road, and yet there's a county property, there's this house here, and you know, what the legal question is, can we, you know, so can we cut in there, since the county owns the property, and then the school has this some responsibility over it, what is the legal ramifications, or what, and would there be an issue with that? And so that's a question I would
That's what
have. I would love to ask.
We could get past the legal.
Eric Sitler.
The county attorney, the school board attorney, you know, what is, you know, I think those are,
Here's the reality.
yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'm just gonna spell it out, I'm gonna say this once again. If you wanna make this political, then we're never gonna get anything done, we might as well just shut this
Correct.
out, county, go home.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what we're getting at, is the what ifs, the politicization of this, which is, it's been highly political. You have a $1.2 million park plan from 5 years ago at that price, that was misappropriated, misallocated funds diverted away from this house. Director Langford has made it very publicly in his public attacks of me and others that he's very upset about that. So if you're looking for cooperation, you're not going to get it, Tim. If you want to fight, you're going to get it. That's all I'm going to say about it.
I have my hand up.
I had mine up a long time ago. I was just waiting for him to stop talking. But go ahead.
I won't, no, I'm not gonna say it.
That's why I would rather him go on record saying he supports or does not support. We could get around the legal part. If he supports and says, yeah, go ahead and go in there and cut it. It's not a legal question because he's already said that. But if he wants to go out there and lay down in front of a bulldozer because it's, you know, a school-owned road, they may have some ground there. I'd rather this get out in the open early, get him on record. Is he supported, is he not? If it's gonna be political, we'll know at the get-go of this. I don't wanna wait till we have everything lined up, ready to go, and then it's stopped. I think that's our best bet.
Nope.
Part of knowing that is knowing where the property line is. That's what I'm gonna find out from engineering. We can jump a curb. They can't stop us. I mean, I suppose they could try to get the sheriff out there and stop us from jumping the curb, but I don't know whether they would. You know, you're already on the property by the time they, you know, the cop can't get there fast enough. So, you know, let's find out. And I think, Mr. Chairman, if you would do some research with our attorney, this is kind of like being half pregnant, this whole school-county relationship. Seems to me we're the umbrella that they're under. We provide their money. Seems like we're the boss. And so at some point, there's gotta be one boss, not two. And it would seem like the county would have authority over the school. Just seems to me that way, but that's a question for the attorney.
This highlights the folly of joint properties with any entity of government.
Yeah, but the school is us.
Correct.
It's
but the
Sumner
school
County
also-
School District.
But there are also laws in the state that delineate schools' authority versus the county's authority. And that, I don't think what you're saying is 100% accurate or true. Because problem is it's joint property. It's not school property. It's not county property. It's joint property. So, and that's just a fact. And that's the quandary. And so, and we're trying to, the money was left to the county, not the school. And everybody's very clear about that. We need the console. We got a console.
Do you have it, Cindy?
Right here.
Yes, but, you know, you know, to me, I just think this is it's my opinion, it's a county issue, but I mean, the schools could say it's a school issue, but they can't prove that any more than I think the county can. But I mean, we know that the money was left to the county for this, not the schools. Therefore, I think that's a precedent. Our goal is to fix this house up. And, you know, whatever, if the schools want to come in and spend their money, that the county commission wants to give them to make this grandiose $2 million park, that's definitely within the commission's and the school board's purview to do it at a later date, whatever. Our job is solely to focus on this house. That's it. Just this house. And in order to do that, the quandary is we have to have an access point. We can just continue, like I said, put some sandbags, just drive on up in there, and I don't, you know, make it just whatever. But eventually, and we don't need to solve this problem right now. We don't need to think about it as far as, you're gonna have to have a box culvert and a parking area for people to go to get to it. It's gotta happen if we're gonna have accessibility. So we don't have to solve that problem right now. We just don't. We do whatever we need to as a minimum contractors to get a truck over there. It's not gonna sink in the mud. What does that look like? A minimal viable product.
That was where I was going. Just that. Work path. Construction path.
Yeah, well, it might as well.
Yeah, I think over time we're gonna get more. Some of these answers are gonna come. I'm gonna do some research. You know,
It didn't.
So
I wasn't interpreting what you're saying as that at all. This whole discussion. Just to
We
be
gotta
honest.
cut it, we gotta lay gravel. That was mine.
But I'm not talking about cutting it. What I just said, I didn't say cut it.
Yeah.
I didn't just.
Yeah,
we're talking about getting
not talking about
access
other
for
things.
the construction work.
Cut it.
I know, but I'm
We need
just-
permission to cut it.
Correct.
That's
I don't know.
Maybe.
But like I said,
But
we
what I
don't
just
have to cut
said,
it out.
I don't think we need permission, is what David recommended. I just restating what he said. So, anyway. Well, it doesn't sound like there's any action it takes. I'll withdraw my motion at this point, so, and that effectively kills it. I think what we can do you guys want to do a meeting? I mean, do you guys want to try to tour it next Thursday and just have Chris walk it out there with us, and so we can walk through this in person? It would just basically be, I'll ask, I mean, I don't know, if we would, it wouldn't be an official meeting if we did that. It's just, we're just touring it at that point.
Okay.
We would not take action, have discussion.
I think it'd be helpful for this committee and any of the citizens.
It would be no different than what Genops did when we went to visit the jail.
Right.
In the courthouse.
Right.
I think this would just be a tour. It would not be.
Informational.
Information. It would not be a voting, discussing, you know, we're deliberating and knocking out walls thing, taking votes. We'd have to come back here and do that.
We're gonna argue about a driveway?
Huh?
We're gonna argue about a driveway?
We can.
We're going.
Well, you can see,
If
if
we do
you're
it
out there,
during-
you can see exactly where the old,
if
oh,
we
you
do it during the
see where
day,
the-
I can make it. It's the evening that I have a conflict.
Well, I can't do it in the day. It would be like
Yeah,
5:30
well,
on that side.
5 or 5:30, there's plenty of
Just
sunlight.
take some pictures.
No, he's just talking about he can't do it at night. He can't do it in the
I can't do it in
evening.
the evening.
Oh,
He's
okay.
busy. Maybe leave next Thursday.
What
He's already
time?
gone. Are you going?
I'm gone, yeah.
And I'm thinking. No, this would just be the committee.
Well, we can wait till a later date for the tour. I'd like everybody to see it, because I think it's worth.
Well, I think seeing, I mean, I don't need to see it necessarily based on what the pictures are and what the description is, I mean, to make a decision. But if we want to continue discussion with action, it'd be better to have a meeting here with Chris to come here.
Okay, well, let's
First
do that
tour.
then. Let's do that then.
I mean, like informally, if anybody wanted to go out there, you could just go out there.
Yeah, and I can take anybody out there.
I'm just curious, that house sat empty for how many years?
8 years.
8 years.
2017.
February
And-
was 8 years.
When y'all went in there the first time, that's the first time anyone had gone in there in 8 years?
Well,
Like,
we don't know.
No.
People kicked in doors.
It was open.
it was
Yeah.
open?
Yeah.
They had kicked in the back door and knocked out some windows.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That door's kicked in right now.
At least.
Yeah.
Well, they went in when they were looking for Sebastian.
Yeah.
There's been a
Oh,
hole
they
in
did.
the
It was an
front
incident.
doors ever since last year.
It's really a miracle that it's still there. 'Cause
The under-
the things that happen to houses, old houses that are uninhabited and everything, it's a miracle something hasn't happened.
But half the windows were broken.
Yeah.
The underneath access was open, some animals and stuff, the animal you saw, penguin, what you saw in there is underneath the.
All right, so you guys okay with doing a meeting next Thursday? We know that Stephen won't be here, and Chrissy probably won't be here either.
Yeah, Chris will be here.
And we can have Chris here. I mean,
Same time? It's 5:30.
yeah, unless, I mean, because that gets us before Gen Ops. Or do we even need to meet? I don't know, because if there's not gonna be any action taken at Gen Ops or Highway, I mean, do we,
Was there questions that we need to ask Chris?
I don't know, do you have questions to ask Chris?
One question I had, you may have got an answer for already, was there's cost on there, I think, for roof, metal roof.
Yes.
Does the roof need to be replaced? It wasn't
No, it's
leaking.
not leaking.
So you take that off. Was there a more era-specific metal roof that could be put on there that he's suggesting, or?
No, I mean, he is,
That's $18,000.
yeah, he's saying you could tear it off for 9, I think, or 8.
18.
He's got a tear off price, he's got a reduced price. But it's not leaking, so there's no point necessarily to.
8 and 18.
8 and 18.
So that could possibly be a $26,000.
Yeah, but like I said, nothing appears to be leaking now, so there's no reason to
I
replace
don't
it.
know if where the brick tied in, if there's gonna be problems and damage and stuff like that, if they could work under the roof.
I can see where the first level hits into the second level wall, there might be some repair to do once the brick is removed, because there's brick there. But that's not replacing a whole roof, it's just repairing that, so.
We just need an actionable item for Gen Ops,
Do we?
just to keep the ball rolling. I mean, don't we? We need to send something to commission to get something started with the direction of spending money on this house. and
You
making
think we're
some
right for that
progress.
for June?
That's what I'm saying, can we come up with something to stand? Every meeting's gonna count from here on out,
You know what?
even if it's just the driveway.
We need to have the meeting next Thursday, because we need to make decisions with Chris
The driveway.
on next steps.
Okay, all right.
At least the driveway.
Because if we're gonna start tearing brick off and doing things inside, then we need to get an allocation of money through budget. I assume it's gotta go through legislative as well, or does it? No. Budget and then to the commission. So if we need to say, okay, we need to allocate $20,000 or whatever the brick removal is, and the remaining
Driveway.
surfaces inside, at least, you know, if we just wanna look at section A right now, the log area, then we need to at least do that much.
But don't you have to have 3 bids?
Yeah, we would, if anything over,
But we can do
Isn't
it
it
up
$10,000?
to,
$10,000, yeah.
we can do it up to the domestic, right?
Yeah, anything, from 10,000 to 20, it's $24.99, you have to have the, estimates, 3 estimates,
Okay.
3 bids, yeah, I've got the pile.
3 bids.
Yeah,
And then,
that was my
anything from
understanding.
25,000 up. I think it's just estimates, not 3 bids. The bids come in over $25,000.
This is 16,000 to remove brick, veneer, and all siding material.
But everything over the 25 is we gotta bid it out. Anything $24.99 to 10,000, we have to get 3 estimates on it. And anything up to $10,000 is just, we just do the work
Right.
as needed. However, the commission approves. So, all right, so we're gonna meet here at 5:30 next Thursday with Chris. If Chris can't come, I'm canceling the meeting.
Yeah.
Just,
Well, he, like I said, he texted me, he said he's available next Thursday.
he was available tonight. And then, I mean, you understand.
I do.
If he cancels again, I'm just.
I do.
If something comes up family-wise or what, I don't know, just, I know this was unexpected tonight that came up.
Yes.
But I'm just making, just, if it's, he can't come, we won't have any.
Understood.
It'll be productive.
Mhm.
Do we want another tentative date if he can't do? Or just play it
I
by
think
ear?
We're just gonna
we've already set the 3rd Thursday of every month.
No, for next Thursday if you can't do. You just want to play that by ear, like I could do,
Yeah.
I could do Friday too. I'm just saying.
Well, we gotta
Cancel.
notify, so there's gotta be notification, right? 5
Okay.
days?
Yeah,
For
A few
now,
days.
it's 3 days.
3 days for ad hoc?
just find out.
I will verify with him. I'll verify
Okay.
with him right now.
All right, any other questions or?
I might be able to join in by phone,
Okay.
in that meeting, because I'll be driving, but,
Okay, yeah, we could put you on speakerphone.
Okay.
So you can listen in.
yeah.
That'd be fun.
Are there any trees around the house that are endangering the house? I know that
They took
one
them out.
fell down. I knew
They
that
took
it-
them all out.
There's a couple that are close enough that if they went over, they could cause.
But they're healthy, right?
But
Yeah, they're healthy.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen down there, there's limbs falling out all the time. I wouldn't want to go down there and mow without walking across it. And the fescue on this backside from the patio all the way over to that fence is chest high. I was gonna go down there and mow, but my mower would die in that. Now, this part back over here on the front side, it can still be mowed, but back on the other side, it's gonna take a bush hog or something.
Well, that's what the schools are for, or the county.
Do you want me to?
But if you wanted to mow, I'd be happy to have you do it, because it's hard to walk.
I know it is. We walked around the other day. Do you want me to ask the mayor? I'll be happy to ask him. I invited him here tonight and asked him if he could, in an email today, I followed up with him to see if he was coming and could he bring what information that he had about MTSU's historical society. He was supposed to have met with them out there. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. He met with them.
He did.
And,
I would like to know what they found out.
yeah, that was why I asked him to come, because I figured he could enlighten us on that.
I don't think they did any inspections or anything. They didn't, I mean, it was just, they were talking about their grant process.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, it wasn't because there is the house, it was about their
Their
administrative
grant, that's the
process.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was all the finger wagging.
Okay. Well, the way I understood it, he had met with them, they were gonna give some guidance. And so that's why I invited him to come.
On the grant.
He didn't mention that. Grant was not mentioned.
It was part of that.
But would you like me to reach out to him, see if we can get a crew over there to see if they can bush hog it down?
Yeah, he's probably gonna say it's the school's problem.
Well, I can call Mr. Langford too. That doesn't mean he'll listen to me, but I can certainly talk to him. I don't mind. If that's all right with everybody else,
Yeah,
me
that's
too.
okay.
That's great, do it, please.
All right, anything else, before we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?